Remembers the topic now that it's been a while.
The art of perspective.
Yes, how to shift perspectives. And very interesting, quick recap on what we discussed. We were discussing about the cycle of thoughts and actions and reactions and the whole perpetuation of how things happen in our lives. And we discussed about karma, samskaras, vasanas, and vrittis. And the cycle goes on. Karma meaning actions. Actions carry reactions and impressions, and then that gets stored into the samskaras, and from there it turns into the vasanas, and then from the vasanas to the vrittis, and then the vrittis enable you to engage with the senses and engage with the world and creates karma again. So just briefly, so just think of a river, and the river, you throw a stone in the river and there are something called the ripples. So the vrittis, or the fluctuations, are like the ripples in the ocean. And the vasanas are the undercurrents underneath the surface, the undercurrents. They are called the vasanas, or the the the, the emotions that are not on the surface, but under the ripples. And then we have the samskaras, who are the emotions and the desires and the attachments that are very deep underneath the ocean and that are actually not visible and that are very deep to fathom because the ocean has tremendous amount of depths. And so therefore, uh, we don't actually know what our real samskaras are. In the yoga text, we understand that the samskaras are lifetime accumulation of desires and wants and unwanted, uh, undesired desires that are stored deep in the bottom of the ocean. And oftentimes they are from not just one lifetime, they can be from many lifetimes. And they are also unconscious. And that's why in our chitta cleanse, we try to make unconscious into subconscious and then make it conscious. So we go through this process of, uh, digging deep down into the bottom of the ocean and see what's laying underneath. And these are also related to the past karmas. Now, karma, we have to keep in mind, is interwoven in all these three aspects of our lives, such as the vrittis, the vasanas, and the samskaras. The karma is actions, thoughts, and emotions, and they then leave an impression in our lives, our actions. Every time we do something, it leaves an impression. And those then give rise to tendencies or desires, and they fluctuate. So this is how karma is intertwined in all these three aspects of life. The vasanas, the samskaras, and also the vrittis. Does that recap make any sense? Any questions on the recap?
It was just a little hard to digest at once. If you wouldn't mind maybe just quickly summarizing it again in like maybe just a little bit different words, because I was writing it down, but I lost a lot of it. It was interesting.
Sure, sure, sure.
Can you also translate Veda? Like when you use the Sanskrit word, can you then also translate at the same time?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So we mentioned vasanas as certain inclinations or tendencies that we have. Those are called the vasanas. And the vrittis are the patterns of thinking. And average in a day, we have so many thousands of thoughts. And those thoughts have certain patterns. And even those thoughts, in cahoots with the mind, will figure out how to justify whatever those fluctuations are. So those are called the vrittis. Does that make sense? And samskaras are conditioned nature, which is on the bottom of the ocean. Conditioned nature that we have accumulated from many lifetimes, not just one lifetime. So those are three different uh, definitions of those. Does that help, Erica? Should I go open it up some more?
No, I definitely butchered spelling, but I got the vasanas, which are our tendencies, vrittis, which are patterns of thinking, and sanskaras, conditioned nature from all lifetimes. I think I got it.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, A plus.
There we go. Perfect. And so we were discussing, that was a little recap, and we were discussing how to break free from this chain. Because if everything in our lives are somewhat running on autopilot, mechanical, it's happening. And that's due to our samskaras, our vasanas, and vrittis, and going back into the cycle of karma. So how do we actually break out of this? And that is where we left off. So in order to break free from this chain, the sages are explaining that we must first recognize what is the loose link in the chain. It's important. If we know what the loose link is, then we're able to tackle and address that. And the loose link in the chain are the vrittis. Erica, what are the vrittis? The fluctuations of the mind.
Patterns of thinking.
Patterns of thinking, yes. So patterns of thinking and fluctuations of the mind, that is the loose link in the chain. According to the sages, they actually explain how to handle that. And the way to do that is this great saint Baladev Vidyabhushan. He explains that intelligence is the way to do it, or Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi Yoga means the yoga of intelligence, where we engage the intelligence in this process of freeing oneself from the shackles. Sometimes there is a misunderstanding that bhakti is just about emotions, there is no intelligence. It is a misunderstanding because bhakti is actually about intelligence guiding the path to pure emotions in the heart. So that's why Bhagavad Gita, you'll notice, when Krishna is sitting on the chariot with his friend Arjuna, and Arjuna, he asks Krishna, my dear friend, can you please take this chariot in the middle of the battlefield so I may see who's there to fight and, size people up is what we do. So when Krishna takes Arjuna there, Arjuna immediately starts on his little rant. He starts talking. And finally, when Arjuna pauses and asks Krishna, then what does Krishna do as a friend? He actually simply sits there as a friend to answer Arjuna's questions. He said, Arjuna, please have a seat. Because Arjuna could not. His knees were shaking and trembling in fear of uncertainty. What will happen? And so when life puts you on the knees, when we're beaten down and placed on our knees, what should we do? And this is when Bhagavad Gita dialogue starts between two friends, and Krishna actually explains to Arjuna, while Arjuna is on his knees, the importance of Buddhi Yoga, on how to engage the intelligence in this process. And so, what is the engaging of the intelligence? How does it begin? And where does it go? Because it is through intelligence, Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita to his friend Arjuna, that jnana dipena bhasvata, that it is through intelligence that you can shed the light on what the truth is. And only when that light is shed, then you will actually be able to see the world for what it really is. So it has to be seen with the lens of spiritual intelligence. And so the first step in cultivating the spiritual intelligence is called Shravana. I'll give you 3 steps. Okay? The first step is called Shravana. Shravana means to hear, to listen. But how does that even work? So I think if you remember last week, I told you a story of a man that went and approached Buddha. And when he approached Buddha, he said, "Oh teacher, I've been hearing about you. I want to learn from you. Can you please teach me all these things?" And Buddha immediately said, "No, I'm not interested in teaching you." And he says, "No, I really want to learn. You have to teach me." The student insisted, and the teacher said, "Well, let me tell you a story." And then I told you the story of a pot. There are 4 kinds of hearing and listening. One, he explains, is a pot that is upside down. Imagine a pot has so much space inside, but it's upside down. Inside is empty, but it's upside down. So what happens? Whatever you try to put into the pot, nothing will go in because the pot is not able to receive. It'll just roll off. And then the second, he explains, is a pot that is facing up. But unfortunately, there's a lot of holes in that pot. Whatever you put into the pot, it just falls right through. Just like we listen with one ear and it just comes out the other. So this is the same thing. This is the hearing number 2. Goes in, goes out, goes in, goes out, goes in, goes out. So nothing is being retained. So he said the third is a pot that is not upside down, it's properly situated, but the pot is completely full. Full of what? All this previous programming, all this garbage that we have accumulated in our lives. We already have preconceived ideas, what is right, what is wrong. And no matter what you try to put into that pot, nothing's going to go in because it's already full with so much other information. So this is pot number 3, hearing number 3. And number 4 is a pot that is situated properly, completely empty, and is ready to receive whatever is poured into that pot because there is no contamination and there's no holes in there. So he told that student, "You are pot number 3. What is pot number 3? Already programmed. There is enough garbage in the pot. There is nothing else to fit inside." So this is where we left off with the story of, the importance of hearing and what is needed. And this process of hearing is very fascinating because intelligence means that you gather information. You're constantly gathering information, and you're able to retain information. And that is called dharana shakti, the ability to retain information, not just go in and out. So through this process of hearing, we start to develop something called the intelligence. Although it may seem very mechanical, but it starts to develop intelligence. This theoretical knowledge is quite good because we get all the information we need, just like he and all of the students. You all learn so many theories and all of that, and eventually when you get into the real world, you get to apply it. So knowledge that is theoretical But that theoretical knowledge adds a very powerful tool to cultivating intelligence, because it's just like planting a seed. Yeah, I know in the ashram we're doing a lot of gardening now. A lot of people are coming to volunteer, and I know Dom had planted some seeds. Boys also, Lakshman planted seeds. Now what happens? So hearing is like planting the seed. So every time we hear something, what we're doing is we're actually planting a reality of our life. For example, I've mentioned this before, when we are listening to the news and constantly on social media, what we're doing is we are allowing the society and the world to plant the seed of whatever will grow in our lives. And so this is why the Shravanam is extremely powerful, is planting the seed. It creates the ability to remember, to hear. And of course, there is a lot more to say about hearing, because hearing, uh, it anchors you and our intelligence to whatever information is being given to you. Like our whole lives in school, we've been programmed. The educational institution teaches us so many things that needs the society, the world needs. So then therefore we are programmed, and then we immediately, very easily fit into the system. So we need an anchor. So between theoretical and practical, which is the next stage of cultivating intelligence, is called manana. Manana means to contemplate. Shravana is to hear, and manana means to contemplate. Contemplate on what you have heard. So you hear something and you start to think about it. You start to meditate on it. You start to germinate those thoughts and ideas. Just like we planted the seed, if we don't pay any attention to the seed, what happens to the seed? The seed will dry up and there will be no plants growing. So the next level of cultivating this intelligence is manana, which means there is a continuous cultivation of that theory being applied into practice. So it's no longer theoretical knowledge, it becomes realized knowledge. And this is a very important thing. Sometimes in the world, we have theoretical knowledge, but we don't apply. And we go around and spew all these theories, and then what happens? Just imagine you're an expert swimmer, or you know the theory of swimming. You know all the currents and how to move your arms and how the muscles work and how to float, and you know all the theory of swimming. But you haven't really swam. You have all the theory and you jump into the lake with all that theory. What happens? Will you be able to survive? No, it doesn't work like that. There's a huge gap. So what that means is that whenever you jump into the river, you will drown because there is no practical application. So between Shravana and Manana, there is this principle of sadhana. That means there is a regular, dedicated daily practice of spiritual cultivation of our intelligence. And that is where sadhana comes into the play. Otherwise, it remains theory. The seed will dry and not much will happen. So this mechanical function is very, very important part of cultivating intelligence. Imagine going into a yoga class, right? When you go into a yoga class, what happens? They teach you yoga poses. And your body is stiff, and you try first yoga pose to try and touch your toes. And it's not working. Do you give it up? No, you go again the next day and you try the same thing again and again and again and again. And eventually you'll be able to do very, very complex, complicated, sophisticated yoga poses. Why? Because there was a constant, diligent, daily application of that theory. So this is what manana means. Means where the theory that you have learned through Shravanam hearing, you are diligently cultivating that knowledge through application. And after application, then you're able to go to the next level, which is nididhyasana. And this nididhyasana means always in the state of meditation. That means you're always in the present moment. And that is what samadhi is. All spiritual practices in the world, they focus on one thing, and that one thing is to be in the present. The nature of the mind is to justify and fortify the vrittis and the vasanas and the samskaras. And this nididhyasana, which is a constant state of being in the present, means the mind, wherever it goes, we're always bringing it to the now. So this everlasting presence, everlasting present, this is what nididhyasana is. This is what spirituality is. And this is why and how we're able to break free from the shackles. When the illusion and the covering, the veil of ignorance and darkness is removed, because the past means what? Past means ignorance, means illusion, darkness. That's what the past is. And the future is also uncertain. And that's why in Bhagavad Gita, these two words are there. Na sochati, na kankshati. No hankering, that means future in the mode of passion. Na kankshati, and no lamentations. That means not in the past, not in the future, but in the present. And in that state of consciousness, we can always experience union with God, union with the divine. And this is what this whole process of being free from this chain, the shackle of life, how do we do it? How do we remain in that beautiful space of union with the divine? It is by always remaining in the present. And let me see how are we doing in time. Okay. And one of the most important and the powerful ways of actually practicing these three levels, Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana, is to always keep in mind that it helps to have somebody around who actually is doing that and experiencing that. And that is why we have our Sangha. That is so important, because someone in the group is experiencing that everlasting presence. And that carries a certain energy of love, of acceptance, because that lens of everlasting presence is the lens of the spirit, is the lens of the heart. The other lenses that we're looking at is lenses that are not clear. And this particular lens of the heart is what enables you to see Sunichaiva Swapakecha Pandita Samadarshina. That word is Samadarshi. That means equal vision. That every one you see in this world, you're only able to see the spirit. That consciousness is called Nididhyasana. Constant engagement with the consciousness of everlasting presence. So this is how we can break free from the shackles. Simply the fluctuations of the mind, hearing, listening, contemplating, meditating. That means practicing and applying it, and seeing through application how that experience is felt deep within yourself. So this was the topic that we didn't present, but I've been wanting to present. This again, it's in a nutshell. There's more details to each and every one of this. Would anyone like to add anything or subtract anything or have any questions or doubts? Yes, Olivia.
Thank you, Vida.
Please share with us.
I wanted to ask, at the beginning you mentioned that every action makes an impression. And I guess the non-action also makes an impression. For instance, if I'm a mother of a child and I don't do some things, that also creates an impression on him, inside me, around me, right? So
Yes.
non-action. And I wanted to ask also, when a person is disabled, like mentally disabled, what are his or her chances to hear well and to integrate well?
Very, very interesting. How to help someone who's mentally disabled, you said?
Yes, I'm more wondering how to, for example, someone who is sick and cannot use his or her brain correctly, because maybe some people who has PTSD and cannot integrate the information at the same speed or level as someone who is not sick. I was wondering how can the person do all this work? What should
Great question. Great
or he
question.
expect? Thank you.
Great question. You know, sometimes I remember reading in the yoga texts, studying, the sages claim that we are actually all mentally disabled because the limits of our mind is so refined in our minds because we use such little part of our mind. The capacity of the mind is so underused that it makes the mind disabled. So the sages say that we are all mentally disabled, and that is why we have to cultivate ability with our minds, because the thoughts that we have in our minds are very powerful energy frequencies, and they often will create our reality. If someone is sick, if you tell yourself you're sick, I'm sick, I'm sick, the possibility of that energy dominating your existence is even more, because that's the focus. Wherever the attention goes, then the energy flows, because that's what prana is. So that's why in yoga, we always practice the importance of being in the present. The pain is there, but the beauty of being in the present, we are able to not fully engage with the pain, the emotion of pain. So those who are practically mentally disabled, the yoga sages are explaining that there is this powerful principle of shruti, or hearing. If we continuously hear a certain frequency, it will change your physiology and your psychology. As most of you know, that Japanese scientist who does experiments of sound on water, it's real. It's straight out of the yoga texts. And imagine you're infusing your being, which is 3/4 of our body is consisting of water. Imagine you're constantly feeding this body powerful spiritual sound vibrations. It can change your neurochemistry, it can change your physiology. So even if you're mentally disabled, but if you're sitting and listening to kirtans and mantras, strong spiritual vibrations, their life is bound to change. This is the recommendation the sages are giving us. When you wake up in the morning, instead of turning on the TV, turning on the phone, turn on some nice mantras. Wake up in the morning, chant Govinda, Govinda, Govinda. The first 3 words come out of your mouth, first 3 words that you hear in your heart, giving pleasure to the senses and the mind. You have started off your day with a bang. So it all depends on how we are able to diligently address the vrittis. The vrittis alone, there is 5 different kinds, which I didn't get into the details of them. But these tendencies that we have, the mind to wander off in all different directions, simultaneously. So that can be uh, uh, curtailed through the hearing of spiritual sound vibrations. And I recommend people don't use TV, don't use use mantras, use sounds that are powerful formations of energies. People often think, what are these mantras? Mantras are actually the energy vortexes that the sages have seen and then they document. And what they've documented are these mantras, this the formula, the algorithm that they're able to see, then they document it and they teach others. Chant this mantra and see what happens. For example, I have often spoken about the sage named Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur, out of 24 hours, he would spend 23 hours of his life in japa meditation. How is that even physically possible? And then the sages explain how is that possible? Because when you get into that mantra, in that mantra is restfulness. In that mantra is nourishment. In that mantra is the goddess of sleep. All the deep codes of the 16 syllable mantra, it contains everything. So when you're with that mantra, your hunger automatically feels taken care of. Sleep feels taken care of. So you barely need to sleep, you barely need to eat. And the prana is optimized. So this is what the mantras are. And so mantras are actually a very powerful way to deal with any issues. I know one student asked me, Veda, I have this mental struggles, what should I do? I said, just sit with the mantra, sit with the sound. She said, how long? I said, try 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. And I remember she said she was doing 8 hours. It's beautiful. It's union with God. It's union with the divine. And what can be wrong in that space? And that's why the yogas are saying mantras. Mantras are the key. Mantras are the key that unlocks all the chambers in the heart and unlocks your full potential to experience the highest divine pleasures of love. And gives you interplanetary access just through sound. So that's how we can engage those that are mentally disabled. I don't know if, Olivia, I answered your question. Semi happy. Anybody would like to add anything or subtract?
I would like to ask about interplanetary access that you just said.
Yes. You have capability to access all the 14 planetary systems, yes. But because we have so many vasanas, vrittis, and samskaras impeding, we're not able to access all of them. I remember there was a story, many of you have heard this. This person, Prabhupada, one day he was doing a kirtan and he just told his students, hey, Narada is here. Narada is this celestial being that travels from one planet to another doing kirtans. So he's here today. So we have access, yes. But we need to have the ability to cultivate the consciousness that will give us access. And it is simply us taking the process more seriously. Without fail, we must daily water the plant, water the seed of faith in our heart, the seed of love in our heart. It is there. Everyone has love in their heart. No one is exempt. because that's how we are programmed. We are sent with love in our hearts, but we have not watered that seed of love, and so it hasn't been able to grow.
Hmm.
And
Oh,
that
sorry.
that respect to the seed of love in our heart is what is missing. You know, in India, they have these rituals called Shraddha. Shraddha means, you know, when the people leave and they die and you offer oblations. In Sanskrit, the word is called Shraddha, which means to respect, which means faith. And that is what it means. We show them respect by doing these things. And if we learn to respect the seed of love within our heart, and we keep watering it every single day without fail, you will have access. Shravanadi Suddha Chitte Karohe Udoy. It explains that through hearing, we cultivate, and that heart will start to shine like the rising of the sun. That love will start to shine like the rising of the sun. So that love from within will start to shine. Erica, does that make any sense? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I'm just wondering because I'm new to this and I'm just learning. I learned in this Sadhguru group we had on Wednesday, which is really cool. I had no idea that the yogic texts were so intertwined with astrology. I didn't know astrology was tied to like anything. I never really looked into it. And so I'm wondering, you said it allows you access. What does that mean? Can you elaborate on what that means?
Whatever you want access to, you have it.
But allowing or being accessing the interplanetary, like what I'm not sure what that means. Like, what does that allow me? I'm confused.
You have to allow yourself, because what we have done in our lives so far is we have accumulated samskaras, vasanas, and vrittis, and we're running on an autopilot. So we have to allow ourselves to take control of the steering wheel and consciously act and consciously live our lives. And
how,
that
do,
is
how
that is
does that?
what needs to give access. We are not allowing ourselves to experience. All these desires and fluctuations are not allowing us to access that deep love within ourselves. So we are getting in the way of ourselves by disallowing ourselves and not giving us ourselves the true access that we have the right to. Say, for example, you have a safe in your house and there is treasure in your house. You have the key. But all around that safe, you just have this this piles and piles of garbage that we have placed all around it. So we have to give ourselves access. We have to remove the obstacles so that we can have access. Does that make any sense? Maybe not.
It makes perfect sense. I'm just wondering what the planets have to do with it.
What do you mean, what the planets have to do with it?
You said the term interplanetary access.
Yes. You can go to the higher planets.
Go to them?
Yes. People are going to moon all the time nowadays. You can
Okay.
you can
So
travel there without a SpaceX.
so if I follow this path of yoga, I can go to different planets?
Why not?
Okay.
Yes. That's what the yogas are saying. That's what the sages have been doing for thousands of years. They wear
Interesting.
loincloth and they travel through different time and space. Being in the present, you have to keep in mind, being in the present is a very good start. because being in the present means it's beyond time and beyond space.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was thinking Elon Musk wasn't rich. He was just doing yoga and stuff. Okay.
You don't have to spend billions of dollars. You can do it. You can do it without all that expense. Save yourself some money. Anyone else would like to add anything? Any questions?
Veda, I have a question.
Yes.
Regarding our sadhana practice, is there anything specific that you can suggest that we add to our sadhana practice that would help us move more into to be able to apply this knowledge that you're giving to us right now? I heard the mantras, I heard the, being around other people who are living this present moment. Just if there's anything maybe specific or something that you could suggest, that would be nice, at least for me.
Margot, beautiful question. You're already doing it. The most powerful tool that we have is every day doing our mantra japa. Just cultivating, just hearing, let the sound enter. Let the sound enter our heart. Let the sound enter our heart. And this process, eventually, you'll be able to do all kinds of cool things because you have allowed the sound to enter your heart. When we're doing in meditation, in our japa or in our meditations, you will notice we don't allow the sound to enter because there's so many barriers that are been placed in between our heart. And so if we get to the point of simply one practice, keeping it simple, one practice, every single day, 2 hours of meditation with the sound, you will start to notice the physiological changes, the neurochemical changes. You will actually feel it. I mean, I get your text messages, Margot, and I can already see where you're already moving up. Realizations are deeper. Your observations are more thorough. So those are all things that are a byproduct of deep sadhana. Being more calm in the midst of the storm, I noticed that when you send me messages. So you're doing it, just keep doing it. That is the secret. Just don't stop, because the seed of love in the heart should not dry up. We should never let that dry up.
Thank you.
Anyone else would like to add anything? Yes, Dayama.
Hari Om, Vedaji. So I experienced the last, I think almost a month, I go into a huge process. Sorry for my English. So for me, it's with very highs and very depths, but I feel already the power of the mantra. He is so powerful. It's just amazing, and it's so simple. So what I do, what it works for me at the moment, I do my daily meditation, but I start just read a small part in the Gita, and then I meditate, and in meditation I do the mantra constant. Because yesterday I had my mind was not good. It was a lot of stuff in my mind and my body. I had a lot of physical body pain, and I asked to Krishna, please take it over. And I was maybe, I think, 5 minutes in meditation, and then it was like so much stuff was for me, take it away. And after meditation, I feel me just so light, and it was just amazing to experience that. So it's great. Yes.
Thank you for sharing that. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Yes, it's really Krishna's work. I can feel it. So I just want to share how it can be if you focus on
Miracles do happen.
Yes, it will. It will. So this is what I want to share.
Any other comments or questions?
Good morning. I'd like to add something on the two questions.
Please.
Just something that I was hearing about being multidimensional beings and having access through our spiritual practice and the mantra that allows us to access whether it's multiplanetary being or understanding, as Olivia was speaking about the young woman and her care, that heart, that love that we can access allows communication in ways that if we're only relating to ourselves on a physical level, we may not understand. But just having her present and being loved and being loved through the heart, that communication can elevate and create new pathways. So those were thoughts I wanted to offer this morning.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Beautiful. Justin wants to share something. You're on mute, Justin. You may have to unmute yourself.
Okay, there, yeah. I was just loving your analogy with the garden, planting seeds and watering them. So early on my sadhana, it's like, okay, spend doing this an hour a day. I expect it like I'm taking a pill, like, okay, just work, but all throughout the day, whatever I'm placing my attention on, that's where it's like my attention is like a water spout watering the gardens. And a lot of times I'm focused on the weeds in my garden. Like I want to have a garden without weeds. So I'm focusing on all of these weeds. Like, why are these weeds here? Why are these things in my life that I don't want to be here? And I'm complaining about it in my mind. And the whole time that water is nourishing all of those things in my life. I'm amplifying those, giving it life. And my son, my practice, I had brief glimpses of what it's like to have the waves of the mind. Sometimes I'm like a little boat tossed about in this stormy sea in my mind all the time, and then I have a moment of calm. I can touch something. I can touch something deeper. I touch, feel this love that connects me. And then throughout the day, when I get lost in my mind, I can feel there's like a tension around my heart physically. Sometimes I can get lost trying to untangle all the threads. Um, sorry, got myself tripped up. Um, I don't know. Sorry, I've lost the thread of what I was saying.
You're focusing on the weed.
Yeah, yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. No problems. Thank you, Justin.
Sorry, indeed.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes, Keshavi.
So to tie it all together, are you saying that we can kind of not, I don't know if bypass is the right word, but get through the difficulties that we have with our karma, samskaras, vasanas, and vrittis by utilizing our intelligence? Is that kind
100%. The whole practice of Vedanta that we have studied and continue to study is the importance of engaging the intelligence in the process. It is not a mindless process. It is a mindful process. That means we should really, really see what is happening. Like when we are in the present, you can actually see what is happening in your life. Every action, you're able to see it and be present in the action. So that is intelligence. It requires intelligence to be able to see. And it is only through that light you will notice you'll actually be able to have divine union. Union doesn't happen in the dark. It happens in the light. The light, which is the knowledge, the intelligence is what carries, is what symbolizes that light. So you can see things properly, so you can connect better. If you don't know someone, how are you going to be in a relationship with that? It's shooting in the dark, and the probability of you, being with the wrong person, doing the wrong thing is very high because there's not enough light, there's not enough intelligence. And so this process of breaking free from this chain is to actually engage with the intelligence. Carmen, you wanted to add something, please.
Yeah, you were talking about gardening, and it really struck me because I immediately went to the analogy of my whole life I've claimed that I don't have a green thumb. Like anytime I have a plant, it's just not going to survive. And the connection that I just drew to that is I've also recognized that I haven't given myself permission to be present, to create intimacy, and to really give love and nurture those plants. Like I was looking at the plants as a representation of myself. Like my plants are thriving because maybe I'm pouring into myself. And maybe if they aren't thriving, then it's time for me to take time, create that intimacy between, whatever that relationship is and really nurture it and provide the nutrients and the sustenance that either myself, the plants, relationships need. So that just really kind of dropped in for me today. So thank you for bringing up the gardening piece.
Thank you so much, Carmen. When I was young, I was given a plant. I was given a tiny tulasi plant, very tiny, itty bitty one. And my teacher had said, you just take care of this plant and you will know exactly if you're growing or if you're sinking. And I'm like, what is this supposed to mean? Is some metaphorical stuff, It didn't make much sense to me. You're just a kid, And he said, just take care of this tree and you'll be able to you can gauge your growth. So it was so funny because every single day I was so mindful of this tulasi plant. When the sun came up, I took it out to the sun, and exactly around 11 or something, when the sun got too hot, I brought it and put it in the shade and gave it some water. I never watered it when the sun was too hot, so it wouldn't burn the leaves. It was just like this constant meditation, and this tree started to grow, 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 grow. And I started to become happier and happier. And so my teacher finally one day, when the tulasi plant had grown healthy and beautiful flowers, and he said, one day when your consciousness is right, you'll be able to truly smell the fragrance of this tulasi plant. Till then, you will just smell the superficial qualities of this tulasi plant. And I'm like, oh my God, how many more years? And to this day, I'm still trying to smell the real smell of tulasi plant, because when you get the actual smell of the tulasi flowers, it's supposed to open and nourish the heart. But it says that you have to have a whole different set of spiritual consciousness in order to actually smell the real fragrance of a tulasi flower. And that is accessible to the sages. That's what I've been told. So I'm on a mission with the plant, just, and it's such a beautiful metaphor that the sages give us. So it's so nice that you presented it. so personally. Thank you, Carmen. Okay, I think we have Patricia, you wanted to share something. Patricia, are you there? She had her hands up. Okay.
Sorry, that canceled that. That was an accident, but I loved all of that.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Okay. Any announcements? Nitai, Keshavi? Yes.
Well, I was going to say, I see a bunch of Europeans just came on. I'm sorry, guys. We tried to put it in the chat, but there was daylight savings. That happens every year. But I'm glad we caught you at the end of the class. We started an hour ago. But it's recorded.
Daylight savings.
Yeah.
I was wondering what happened to Durga Devi. She never misses it.
Every year. Anyway, yes, I do have an announcement. We are about to launch a retreat in July in the Catskills of New York. So would love people to join for that. Hopefully it'll be live in the next day or two. And the retreat will be focused on finding your Dharma. So we're super excited about it. And then, yeah.
New concept. It's a very intensive work on finding your purpose in this world. Yes.
And yes, we're excited to start our Chitta cleanse next week. I think all of you who wanted to apply have registered. No, you haven't. Not everybody who has applied has registered. So please, if you haven't done that, please do that today, ideally, or tomorrow, because we need to put together our groups and our pairs, and also give the space to somebody else if you're not going to officially register. So we're excited for that next weekend.
Yeah, I recommend Chitta cleanse. It's very it's very hard, a lot of work, but it's definitely freedom at the end of the tunnel. Okay.
Sorry, the dates for the July retreat are July 10th through 13th. If you want to save the dates, it's going to be a long weekend.
Okay. I remember, what is her name? Maria had given me.
There's Maria. That's weird.
She's here?
She literally, as you said her name, she joined. Yeah, that was weird.
We were in Vrindavan. She had bought a Rudraksha plant, Lord Shiva's plant, in this place in Nilkantha, Lord Shiva's, blue throat, Adam's apple. So she had bought a Rudraksha plant and she carried it so diligently in the bus, in the train, in the tuk-tuks. And then she realized she couldn't take it to Bulgaria. So then she gave it to us and we did a whole ceremony in Vrindavan with that plant. So I'm hoping when we go to India this year, we're going to go check up on that plant. I had told the gardeners there, please take care of this plant. So another plant story. There is Maria. Okay, so thank you all so much.
Oh, sorry, one more announcement. There is the Gita Nagari retreat too. Thank you, Nitai, for putting that in the chat.
Yes, that is in April, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I recommend just retreating, just keep running towards good association, nice kirtan, nice food, and great community. Durga Devi, when is your retreat in Netherlands?
Hi everyone. Veda, I'm so happy to see you. And yeah, our retreat is 26th to 28th of September.
So all you Americans want to go explore Netherlands, Holland, let's do it. This is the time.
And all the Belgians, please come. It's 2 weeks before the Belgian retreat, so it's nice you can do both. It's in a beautiful monastery, and we have a lot of kirtan with Vedaji again when he comes, so it's always one big spiritual party here in the Netherlands. So please join us. It's from 24 September till 28. We get the chance to have the association with Veda and this beautiful energy. So yeah, please write it, note it. Thank you.
Thank you, Durga Devi. Amelie, your retreat, you want to give people the dates in case they want to come to Belgium and hang out with you?
Yeah, hi everyone. Our retreat in Belgium is from 17th to till 19th of October. So you are all welcome to join if you want to see a little bit of Belgium. And it's in the smallest city in the world. It's Joburg. So you can see and come and see the city.
And another beautiful note about Emily, she just quit her corporate job to just practice yoga full time. Pretty wild.
Yeah,
Pretty wild.
yeah.
Okay. I think we have the Bulgaria dates. Laura, you remember the Bulgaria dates? Or Maria or Elena?
I think it's 7th to 15th October.
Okay. So whoever wants a European excursion, this is the time. We go to Belgium, to Netherlands, to Bulgaria, and just keep partying, traveling the world and partying. Spiritual party. Okay. Thank you, beautiful souls. So nice to be with all of you, and we'll see you next Saturday. And sorry for this